David is 58 years old. He makes $83,000 a year. He's been working for 35 years. He has $127,000 saved for retirement. And unless something dramatic changes in the next 7 years, he will never actually stop working. Not because he loves his job. Because the math doesn't work. 3 cubicles over, Janet is 56. She makes $79,000. She's got $740,000 saved. She's retiring at 62, maybe earlier if she feels like it. Same company. Same cafeteria. Same 401k options. One of them built an escape hatch. The other one built a trap he's been calling a retirement plan. So this is not a video about market crashes or bad luck or getting screwed by the system, though all of that happens. This is a video about the 5 specific structural reasons most people will work until they physically cannot, and why nearly everyone currently under 50 is heading toward the same cliff without knowing it. My name is Nick, and I run Finovest Logic because I got tired of retirement advice that sounds like a Hallmark card. Just save more. Start earlier. Cool. Most people didn't, most people won't, and now they're 50-something staring at a number that doesn't come close to what they actually need. Here's the one idea that explains everything: retirement isn't about age. It's about the gap between what you saved and what 30 years of life actually costs. And that gap, for most people, is so catastrophically wide that no amount of part-time consulting or lifestyle adjustments will ever close it. I call it the retirement gap. And the cruel part is that the system is designed to make you feel like you're on track right up until the moment you're not. 2 promises before we get into it. 1. I'm going to show you David's actual numbers, what he saved, what he'll need, and the exact moment 15 years ago when his retirement became mathematically impossible without a miracle. 2. There's one assumption about retirement that almost everyone makes, that sounds completely reasonable, and is so wrong that it alone explains why millions of people will never stop working. It's number 4, and you probably believed it this morning. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is math, data, and pattern recognition from watching the same retirement crisis play out across millions of people who did everything they were told. Let's get into it. Here's what your parents were told about retirement: work for 30 to 40 years. The company pension plus Social Security will cover most of your life. Save a little extra if you want to travel. That was the deal. Here's the actual deal you got: no pension. Social Security might cover your groceries if you're lucky. And you're personally responsible for funding 30+ years of life after you stop earning. The entire model flipped. It went from the company and the government will take care of you to figure it out yourself in about 1 generation. And most people are still operating like the old deal exists. David's dad retired from the same company David works for now. His dad got a pension that paid 70% of his final salary for life. Plus Social Security. He stopped working at 62 and lived comfortably until he died at 79. He had maybe $40,000 in personal savings and didn't need it. David has no pension. His 401k is his pension. And the difference between those two things is the difference between a guarantee and a guess. Here's the math of what that shift actually means. If you want to replace $50,000 a year in retirement using the 4% rule, you need $1.25 million saved. Your parents' pension just gave them that $50,000 every year automatically. You have to build the $1.25 million yourself. And here's the part nobody explained clearly enough: Social Security was never designed to be your entire retirement. It was designed to supplement a pension. The average Social Security check right now is about $1,907 a month. That's $22,884 a year. Try living on that. So the starting line moved. What used to take $50,000 in savings now takes $1.25 million. And most people are still aiming for the old number because that's what their parents needed. Janet understood this at 27. She saw the pension disappear from her offer letter, did the math, and realized she was on her own. She started maxing out her 401k immediately. $500 per month at 27 became $740,000 by 56 because she had 29 years of compounding. David thought he had time. He'd start seriously saving at 35. Then 40. Then, after the kids are through college, he started putting real money away at 48. He had 10 years of compounding instead of 30. That 20-year delay is the entire difference between $740,000 and $127,000. The system changed. The people who adapted early are fine. The ones who kept playing by the old rules are running out of time to catch up. Starting late is expensive. But you can survive starting late if you know how long you're actually saving for. Most people don't. And that's reason 2. Quick question, how long do you think you'll live? Not how long you want to live. How long you're actually planning to fund. Most people say something vague like late 70s, maybe 80. And then they build a retirement plan around 15 to 20 years of life after 65. That feels safe. It's not. If you're 65 today and in decent health, there's about a 50% chance you'll live past 85. If you're married, there's a 25% chance one of you makes it to 95. And if you're currently 40? Medical advances mean you could easily be looking at 30 to 35 years of retirement, maybe more. Here's what that does to the math. Let's say you retire at 65 with $500,000 saved. You're planning to make it last 20 years. Using the 4% rule, you can pull $20,000 per year, plus Social Security gets you to maybe $43,000 total. Tight, but doable. Except you don't die at 85. You make it to 92. Congratulations, you just outlived your money by 7 years. Now what? David is planning for 15 years of retirement, 65 to 80. His dad died at 79, so that feels right. But David's healthier than his dad was. He doesn't smoke. Medicine is better. There's a very real chance David lives to 88, maybe longer. His $127,000, even if he never touches it and it grows at 6% until he's 65, becomes about $255,000. Pull 4% a year, that's $10,200 annually. Add Social Security of roughly $23,000, he's living on $33,000 per year. For potentially 25 plus years. He's planning for 15 years of lean retirement. He's funding 25 years. The gap between those two numbers is called running out of money while you're still alive. And it's one of the most common financial disasters in America. Janet planned for 35 years. She's retiring at 62 and planning to fund life until 97. Overkill? Maybe. But if she's wrong, she dies with money left over. If David's wrong, he's 83 years old applying for jobs. Underestimating longevity is expensive. But even if you nail that number, there's one cost that's growing faster than your savings ever will. Here's the number nobody puts in their retirement calculator, $315,000. That's the estimated amount a 65-year-old couple will need, in today's dollars, to cover healthcare costs in retirement. Not long-term care. Not a nursing home. Just regular Medicare premiums, supplemental insurance, co-pays, prescriptions, and out-of-pocket expenses over a 20-year retirement. For one person, it's about $165,000. And that's assuming you're healthy. Now let me show you what that does to a retirement plan. David's $255,000 at 65 minus $165,000 in estimated healthcare costs over 20 years leaves $90,000 for everything else. That's $4,500 per year for housing, food, utilities, transportation, and life. For 20 years. The math is cooked before it starts. And here's the part that makes this especially brutal. Healthcare costs are rising about 5 to 6% per year, significantly faster than general inflation. So that $165,000 estimate. If you're retiring in 15 years, it's going to be closer to $330,000. Medicare doesn't cover everything. It doesn't cover dental. It doesn't cover vision. It doesn't fully cover prescriptions. It doesn't cover long-term care. The gaps are huge, and filling them is expensive. Janet budgeted $250,000 of her $740,000 just for healthcare. That leaves $490,000 for actual living. David didn't budget anything specific for healthcare because Niall have Medicare. He will. It won't be enough. And if either of them needs long-term care, assisted living, memory care, the numbers get apocalyptic. The median cost of a private room in a nursing home is over $108,000 per year. 1 year. Medicaid will cover it if you're broke enough, which most people eventually are after paying for care burns through everything they saved. This is the cost nobody sees coming and almost nobody adequately plans for. And it's the thing that turns a tight but survivable retirement into a financial catastrophe. Healthcare is the predictable disaster. This next one is the lie you've been told so many times you think it's true. Stop for a second. Take a breath. Because this is the assumption that's quietly dooming millions of retirements, and it sounds so reasonable that almost nobody questions it. Social Security will be there for me. Maybe. Probably in some form. But here's what you need to understand, even if Social Security is there, it was never designed to fund your entire retirement. And the version you get might be significantly smaller than the version your parents got. Right now, the average Social Security benefit is about $1,907 per month, roughly $23,000 per year. The maximum, if you paid in at the highest levels for 35 years, is about $3,822 per month, around $46,000 per year. For most people, it's closer to the average. Can you live on $23,000 a year? For 30 years? And here's the part that should terrify you, the Social Security Trust Fund is projected to be depleted by 2034. That doesn't mean benefits go to zero. It means they drop to what's coming in from current payroll taxes, which is projected to cover about 77% of scheduled benefits. So that $23,000? It might become $17,700. That $1,907 per month becomes $1,470. If you're already planning a tight retirement based on current benefits, a 23% cut breaks the whole thing. David is counting on about $24,000 per year from Social Security. If that gets cut to $18,500, his total annual retirement income drops from $33,000 to $27,500. He's already below the poverty line. A benefits cut puts him under it by a wider margin. Janet built her plan assuming Social Security might not exist at all. She's treating it as a bonus, not a foundation. If it's there, great, she'll travel more. If it's not, or if it's cut, she's still fine. And before you say they'll never let it get cut, it's political suicide, maybe. Or maybe they raise the retirement age to 70. Maybe they means test it so higher earners get less. Maybe they adjust the inflation formula so benefits grow slower. All of those are on the table, and all of them mean you get less than you're planning for. Banking on Social Security to save your retirement is like banking on a maybe. It's hope, not a plan. Social Security is the system-level risk. This next one is the thing you're doing to yourself while thinking you're being responsible. David has $127,000 in his 401k. He's proud of that number. It took discipline. It took decades. And he's been hemorrhaging money the entire time without knowing it. Here's what nobody explained to him: 401ks are not all created equal, and the difference between a good one and a bad one is tens of thousands of dollars over a career. David's 401k has an average expense ratio of 1.2% across his funds. That sounds small. It's not. Let's say David had $100,000 invested 20 years ago. At 7% annual growth with no fees, that's about $387,000 today. With a 1.2% fee, it's about $280,000. The fee ate $107,000. Not from his contributions. From his growth. Silently. Annually. Legally. Janet's 401k has an average expense ratio of 0.08%. Over the same period, the difference between 1.2% and 0.08% fees is over $90,000 on a $100,000 starting balance. She kept that money. David gave it to fund managers who underperformed the market anyway. And here's the part that makes this especially infuriating: most people have no idea what they're paying in 401k fees. It's not on your statement in dollars. It's buried in the fund prospectus as a percentage. You never see the money leave. You just see your balance grow slower than it should. The average 401k in America has fees around 1%. The best ones are closer to 0.05 to 0.15%. That gap, over 30 years, is the difference between a comfortable retirement and working until you die. And then there's the employer match myth. My company matches 3%, so I'm getting free money. You are. But if your company's 401k plan has terrible fund options with high fees, you're getting free money and then paying most of it back in fees over the next 30 years. David got a 3% match for 20 years. That's real money. But the 1.2% fee on his entire growing balance quietly ate more than the match gave him. Janet's company matched 4%, and her fees were under 0.1%. She got the match and kept the growth. Here's the move most people don't know they can make: if your 401k plan is garbage, contribute enough to get the match, then put everything else in a Roth IRA or traditional IRA with low-cost index funds. You're not trapped in your employer's bad plan for all your retirement savings. David didn't know that. He dumped everything into the high-fee 401k because it was automatic and felt responsible. It was expensive responsibility. Fees are the silent killer. But this last reason is the one that makes everything else harder, and it's entirely self-inflicted. Here's a stat that should alarm you: and nearly 60% of people aged 65 to 74 still have debt. Mortgages, car loans, credit cards. And the amount is growing. Retirement is hard enough when your only job is to make your savings last. It's nearly impossible when you're also servicing debt. David has $18,000 in credit card debt at 19% April. He's got 6 years left on his mortgage, about $72,000 remaining. He's got a car payment, $340 per month for 3 more years. He's planning to retire at 65 with all of that still attached to him. Let's do the math. His mortgage payment is $980 per month. His car payment is $340. His minimum credit card payment is about $360. That's $1,680 per month in debt payments, nearly $20,000 per year, coming out of a retirement income he estimated at $33,000. That leaves $13,000 per year for food, utilities, insurance, healthcare co-pays, gas, and life. It doesn't work. Janet paid off her mortgage at 52. She's been debt-free for 4 years. Every dollar of her retirement income is hers. David's retirement income is already spoken for before he buys a single gallon of milk. And here's the trap: most people assume they'll pay off debt before they retire. I'll have the house paid off by then. I'll knock out the credit cards. But life happens. Medical bills. Kid emergencies. The AC dies. The debt persists, and suddenly you're retiring into it instead of out of it. Carrying debt into retirement is like trying to swim with weights on. Technically possible. Exhausting. And the outcome is predictable. The fix is simple and brutal: debt elimination has to be part of your retirement plan, not something you hope happens along the way. If you're 50 and still carrying consumer debt, that debt is a bigger threat to your retirement than market volatility. David is 6 years from retirement and still paying 19% interest to Visa. That alone might be the thing that keeps him working until 70. So here's where we are. David is 58. He's got $127,000 saved. He's planning to retire at 65. And based on everything we just walked through, he started too late and missed 20 years of compounding his planning for 15 years of retirement, but will likely need to fund 25 plus. He hasn't budgeted for $165,000 plus in healthcare costs. He's banking on Social Security staying at current levels. He's been paying 1.2% in fees for 20 years. He's carrying $90,000 plus in debt into retirement. The math is broken. He's not retiring at 65. And unless something changes, he's not retiring at 70 either. But here's what's different about David versus the millions of people in the same position who never figure it out. David finally looked at the real numbers. Last month, for the first time in his life, he sat down and actually calculated what retirement costs. Not what he hoped it would cost. What it actually costs. And the number was so far from what he had saved that it broke through every layer of denial he'd been wearing for 20 years. So here's what David's doing now, at 58, that he should have done at 28. 1. He pushed his retirement target to 70. 5 more years of contributions. 5 fewer years to fund. It stings. It's also honest. 2. He attacked the credit card debt like it was on fire. Paid it off in 11 months by throwing every dollar he could find at it. That $360 per month payment now goes straight to his 401k. 3. He moved his 401k investments from the high-fee actively managed funds to the lowest-cost index funds his plan offers. Dropped his expense ratio from 1.2% to 0.18%. That alone will save him over $30,000 over the next 12 years. 4. He ran the numbers on his mortgage and realized paying it off before 70 is non-negotiable. He's making extra payments. It'll be gone by 68. 5. He opened an HSA and is maxing it out. It's the only account that's triple tax advantaged, and it rolls over every year. Healthcare costs are his biggest unknown. This is his answer. Is he fixed? No. Is he retiring rich? Absolutely not. But he went from mathematically impossible to survivable. And the only thing that changed was his willingness to look at the truth and act on it. Janet, meanwhile, is retiring at 62 with $740,000, no debt, and a plan that accounts for 35 years of life. She'll be fine. Not because she got lucky. Because she started early, avoided the traps, and built the plan when time was cheap. Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud: most people will not be able to retire the way they are picturing. Not because they're lazy. Not because they didn't work hard. Because the system changed underneath them, and they kept playing by rules that don't exist anymore. No pension. Social Security that might not be enough. Healthcare costs rising faster than savings. Fees eating growth. Debt dragging into old age. And a starting line that moved from save a little extra to build $1.25 million yourself. The people who make it are the ones who saw the new rules early and adjusted. The people who don't are the ones who kept waiting for the old deal to come back. If you're under 40, you still have time. Max out the retirement accounts. Choose low fees. Avoid debt. Plan for 30+ years of retirement. Start now. If you're over 50 and behind, you've got a choice. You can keep pretending it'll work out, or you can do what David did: look at the real numbers, face the gap, and build a survivable plan even if it's not the one you wanted. Retirement isn't about age. It's about having enough money to fund decades of life without a paycheck. And for most people, the gap between what they have and what they need is too wide to cross with hope. But it's not too wide to cross with a plan. Thanks for watching Finovest Logic. If this landed, hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.